I didn't see a lot of them, but I did know of 3 families that had previous generation Santa Fe's in recent years. 2 of them from Metro Manila and 1 from Cagayan de Oro. Now, however different their lifestyles were, the Santa Fe's role remained constant. It was a reliable and decent diesel workhorse with a good amount of space and a decent drive. Aesthetically, it wasn't really all that sexy. Never really turned heads. This is the oh-so-sexy 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe Calligraphy. Now, it's got the looks down, for sure, and it's pretty tricked out. The question is, does it have what it takes to be as endearing as the previous model? Stick around and find out on this episode of Behind the Wheel. Ooh, the rain's coming down. It falls in the realm of a premium mid-size crossover, which means 3 things. Number 1, it's a heck of a lot better ride and drive than your average diesel PPV like the Montero or the Everest or even the Terra. Number 2, its size is closer to that of the Explorer and CX-9. Actually, much closer to the CX-9 because it's roughly the same width and height, albeit that the CX-9 is 9 inches longer. And number 3, it's on the pricey side. A quick look at the AutoDeal app and it will tell you that the 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe Calligraphy comes in at 3,100,000 Philippine pesos. It sits at 100,000 Philippine pesos more than the CX-9, but a heck of a lot more affordable than the Explorer. Folks, try our AutoDeal app. It's absolutely free and there are no strings attached, whether you want to look for a quote or find a dealer closest to you to help you find the best car at the best price. Boxy as nouveau boxy can be, the new Santa Fe really is a huge departure from the previous model. It's actually closer to that of, well, a Range Rover Defender. Refined and robust is most certainly a manner to describe the exterior. The H-lights on the tip of the long hood are unmistakable, head-on or on your rear-view mirror. The pattern continues on the bumper below. 4-disc brakes make home behind a massive set of blacked-out 21s found on this Calligraphy wrapped in 245/45s, which look oh so good, which keeps the car on 177 millimeters of ground clearance. Not only are the repeaters and cameras found on the side, but there's also a hidden assist handle found on the C-pillar. Indicators are found down low at the rear, and the H pattern can also be found on the tail lamps, which rests on Hyundai's widest tailgate in their lineup, pushing the trims out as much as possible, creating an opening, well, a C130 would be proud of. Just before we move on to showing you what the engine is all about, I just want to show you the conditions that I'm working in. See, raining, I'm holding an umbrella. I'm out here doing my bit, while these 2, look at them, in the shade. These guys make one video and they think they're kings.
The camera's worth more than your salary.
Shut up, Earl! Now, there is no question about its drivetrain. I mean, it is an all-wheel drive. Oh, you son of a gun. It is an all-wheel drive system, so it's very, very grippy. And the 2.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine is no slouch either, pushing out 277 horses and 422 newton meters of torque. The transmission is what might catch some people off because it is an 8-speed DCT. I'll reserve my comments for that when we go out on a drive, but there are 2 things that you will want to know. Number 1 is that fuel efficiency on the highway is, well, okay at 15 kilometers per liter. It's the city where it's bothersome because I was only able to get 4 kilometers per liter. Mind you, that's hell, rainy, and payday weekend traffic. We postulate that on Sundays when it opens up, you could probably do about 8 kilometers per liter. So, a bit better. The second is that there is actually a GLS model. It still has an all-wheel drive system. Doesn't have a turbo, so it produces less power and less torque. But it's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it's almost 500,000 Philippine pesos more affordable. Just some food for thought. Cargo space though would be identical, which is a great thing because it is absolutely massive. You open the barn door as it is, and behind the third row you can easily fit 2 carry-on luggages. Now when you fold the third row, it increases, and on our walk around, as I'm sure that we'll put the links down below, we showed that you can easily fit 4 balikbayan boxes in here, that when you fold the second row, you can fit in another 2. And because it has a low and flat lip, it makes it very dangerous to take this car out shopping. My wife took one look at this space and said, let's go to the grocery. We now have food for a month. I just have no idea how we're going to pay for electricity. The legroom in the third row is dependent on how generous the people on the second row are going to be, because the second row is on rails. So that can be adjusted. Unfortunately, what can't be adjusted is the height of what the seat is compared to the floor. Now, I'm already a short person, but look at the amount of space that there is between my thigh and the seat. So it's not all that comfortable, but it can carry small passengers and children for small jaunts around the city. What's great though is the amenities even for the passengers in the third row, because you have 2 cup holders each on either side. You have charging points that are type C, and then you have your own air vents to the side, as well as the control for the air itself. I've never seen that before. For rear passengers, it's pretty good. The headroom is quite decent, even though that you have a share of this beautiful panoramic glass. But look at that. Oh, that's not bad, man. Hey, Jack, you think you could fit back here?
Oh, here we go. God, no. Forward.
No, that's fine. Oh, but if I give you more room, though. Oh,
Make it realistic. There. Oh, that's fine.
in the second row, I only have 2 complaints back here, and that's because I'm looking for something to complain about. One is that the seat warmer button is right beside the power window button. So if you confuse those two, it's going to be a slimy situation. Number 2 is that there are no controls for the air back here, which is to say that you have to tell the driver or the passenger to make it better for you back here. You don't have your own control. But other than that, I love the second row. Start off with the fact that you have blinds that you can put up. You have your own map light. Cup holders on the door that are so big it can carry big bottles such as this, and even Jack's harder bottle. And then there's another bottle holder down on the door. There's like 21 bottle holders inside this car. It's redonkulous. The seat directly in front of you has parcel hooks and this nice little cubby for flat things like papers and whatnot. There's also a deep drawer that's found here in the center. That's possible because the air vents are not here in the center or up on top. They're actually on the B pillar, much like European cars. The seats are very comfortable. Leg room is great. I have thigh support. Elbow room is awesome. I can tilt the seat back and forth, and again, you can be generous to the third row because you can move this forward and back. You have a center armrest with 2 cup holders, and of course the panoramic roof above you is really glorious. It is a great place to be. Charging points. Yes, of course, there are charging points found on the driver and passenger seat, so it's not cluttered. You can charge there. It's, my goodness, it's comfortable. It's very comfortable, I'm telling you. Oh, and there's one other thing that I found. This is especially good for seniors. The crossover is obviously going to be a great ride, much better than the PPV as we mentioned, but sometimes getting into higher crossovers might be an issue. Now there's only 177 millimeters of ground clearance here, which means that for seniors, it's a lot easier to just simply put your foot into the car and slide in. You don't necessarily need to lift your butt cheek and go hunting. Kind of what Jack does.
What?
Yeah, you hunt with your butt cheek.
Aren't you due for your senior citizen card yet?
Yeah, and my colonoscopy. Again, the H pattern continues in the spacious front cabin, over the steering wheel, dashboard, and air vents, which enhances the feeling of openness. Two 12.3-inch screens create a panoramic curved display, homes for your instrument cluster and infotainment system with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as your 360 camera, all in an interface that's very easy to use. Accent lights just underneath and below the air vents are a nice touch too. Tactile buttons on the steering wheel for vehicle and entertainment functions. Gear shifter is on the stock, which opens up loads of space in the center. And amid all this tech, a physical knob to rapidly control the audio, which makes Jack a very happy boy. One large gripe I have, however, is the panel for the air conditioning, because oh my goodness, this thing attracts more fingerprints than Italians to Monza. Sorry, I had to. Forza Ferrari! Sorry, Jack. I know you got 1 and 2. You're probably up on the drivers and constructors,
whatever.
but I won at the Temple of Speed.
We're getting constructors this year.
The Santa Fe is pretty tricked out though. For instance, it's got a console here in the center with a false bottom. And the cool thing is, if you load it up with something, then the passenger in the back can actually get it. Like Earl, I have something here for you. This can also be accessed by both the front passenger and the rear passenger. Not 1, but 2 wireless charging pads, which are huge, by the way. A secondary box in the glove that if you put stuff in, it sanitizes it via a UV light. And it's got seats that not only can recline, but it's got leg support that comes out from underneath. With cooling function too. Check this out. This is probably not the best idea if you're going to go out for a drive. Nope, not at all. Oh, it's a good thing the passenger has it. Oh, speaking of drive, let's get to that right now. But before we do, consider liking and subscribing our channel because we create all these videos just for you guys. Let's go, boys! Now, the all-wheel drive system works great. It's fantastic, grips really well. It's the DCT that I was really worried about. For the most part, it's actually quite sorted in this car. But compared to other 2.5-liter turbocharged all-wheel drive systems that have a traditional automatic, well, this may feel a little bit on the sluggish side, especially when you keep it in eco mode. However, when you put it into normal mode and give it a little bit of gas, yeah, it will really pick up its skirt and move quite well. It's just that at slower speeds, when you're not in eco, it does seem to have that instinct of still somewhat kind of jumping, as most DCTs that we don't like. But in normal mode, it's sorted in a way that whatever it is that you tell your right foot to give the accelerator, that's what you get in return. The steering is nice and light, pointed, it goes. The quietness inside this car, my goodness, the noise levels are barely anything. It's so quiet inside this car, whether we're on the highway or inside the city. Jack and I are completely surprised by it because, well, there are 21s running underneath us and they're wrapped in 45 series tires. They're so skinny, but yet it's so quiet inside this car. Really, we were blown away by it. The ride is great too, thanks to performance dampers up front. And because there are self-levelizers at the rear, what that means is basically that no matter how many people you put inside this car or whatever cargo you put inside, that it should still retain 177 millimeters of ground clearance, which is pretty cool. The driver assist systems, they are great, they work well, but it's a bit on the protective side, to a point where either you're on the highway or you're maneuvering in reverse very, very slowly inside the city. The system is inside this car feel like they don't want anyone or anything to breathe the wrong way on the paint job of this car. Really, it feels like it needs to have a Coke and a smile and calm the heck down. It's a little too protective for my taste, so you have to essentially adjust. But safety is always a good thing. I will say that, well, even with that, this section or this segment of cars is really one of my favorites because not only does it provide so much safety and comfort for the driver, but because I'm the type of person that always imagines that I'm driving outside of the city with my family, yeah, I know that it's got my family covered as well. I just love it. I'll admit that while it speaks well to me, the overall design of the Santa Fe may not be the liking to some because they may find it a little too boxy. It also could use some schooling when it comes to fuel efficiency, but because of how peaceful it sits in traffic and calmly on the highway, it may make a very good argument against a diesel PPV. Now, of the families that I mentioned earlier at this video, of those that have Santa Fe's, not one of them wanted to part with their unit because the worth of the vehicle had actually already surpassed the monetary value even in its advanced age. Now that might be a tall ask when you're talking about the Calligraphy, but if you have the budget, yeah, why not? If not, there is always the GLS because at its core, the Santa Fe is actually a very good crossover. But it's probably not as pretty as the Calligraphy though.